read that book, Beach Money? Just by a show of hands. It was a great book. What I liked about it, he speaks in real simple terms, and I like to read as many MLM books as I can to get that belief up, because that's what it's all about, is your belief in the business, the company, the products, the industry, and most importantly, yourself. But I thought he did a really good job of explaining what it takes to be successful in network marketing. He says, what it takes to be successful is you find a couple of customers and a couple of distributors, and teach them to find a couple of customers and a couple of distributors, and repeat that process. Not terribly difficult. How many of you think you can do that? All right. Well, I don't know much about losing weight, but I do know a lot about making money. How many people in this room want to learn how to make a lot of money? Just by show of hands. All right, I'm in the right room. Let's go on. So the topic I'm going to talk about is the #1 key to massive success, if you're interested. All right, so the #1 key is belief. So again, a great theme for this conference. If you believe it's possible, it is possible. And certainly, if I can do it, you can do it. Now, I was going to show you a visual here. This is from my cycle tracker, old school, not the new iPhone app. But if you look in this business, they say in the beginning, you do a lot of work that you don't get paid for. But in the end, you get paid for a lot of work that you don't do. In the beginning, you do a lot of work that you don't get paid for, but in the end, you get paid for a lot of work that you don't do. A lot of people come into this business and they're very excited for about 3 days, and then they quit. It's like I didn't get rich my first 3 days. If you look at my cycle tracker, my first month, I earned under $750. And that was for working probably 16 hours a day for 30 straight days. My hourly wage was about $1 an hour. Not so good. But if you go fast forward to the 12th month, I earned over $55,000. Not so bad for 1 month. How many of you would like to know exactly how to do that? Just by show of hands. All right, good. I'm in the right room. So I'm going to ask a few people to come up here. I'm just going to give you a visual, because people think that there's some magic to this business. This is the easiest business in the world. You find a couple of customers and a couple of distributors, and you teach them to do the same thing. And what I was thinking of doing is I wanted to show you guys the 10 people that I've enrolled. It takes a little bit more than 2. They say just find 2, but don't overcomplicate it. Find a few more than 2, just in case those first 2 don't do it. But if you find 10 good people, that, like I did, you'll be on your way to Royal Ambassador, and hopefully soon on your way to Pinnacle. We still don't have our first Pinnacle. Who's going to be the first Pinnacle in this company? All right. Let's do this. All right, so I'm going to bring these people up on stage. Hold on a second. Let's go through this. There's a list right here. So if you see your name on this, come on up. I just want to show you guys, and I'm going to tell you the story real quickly of how I enrolled these various people, because this is exactly what it takes to get to be Royal Ambassador. Michelle, I didn't tell you about this. I forgot, but come up here. You're the first. Give it up for Michelle Barnes, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? All right. So this is Michelle. You guys know Michelle. So Woo! All right. Everybody's coming up. Okay, so these are, and if anyone, by the way, I wanted to put a disclaimer slide. If there's anybody whose feelings are hurt or anything like that I forgot, forgive me. Still don't quite know how to use Back Office Pro. But I was trying to find all the people that I personally enrolled that were executive or higher. Let's go on. And the first thing I want to talk about is how great our compensation plan is. I love the binary compensation plan. Literally, you only have to find 2. If you have a good upline who helps you, you might only have to find 1. So I joined this company in the very, very beginning because I was a certified MLM junkie. And for 22 years, or the first 16 years, I joined every company. I figured I'd hedge my bet. And I was in every MLM company on the planet. My wife was using the products for a long time. But I didn't get started in the business till June of 2006. But while we were just on AutoShip, Alan Fields, the world's best sponsor, put Jeff Weisberg into the business and then put Michelle Barnes. So by doing nothing, I got Michelle Barnes put underneath me. And that is a beautiful thing. I love this comp plan. Give it up for Michelle Barnes and the comp plan. Sorry. I got lucky. I got lucky. So Better lucky than good. Now, the next thing I did was I had a friend, Chris Armstrong. This is Chris Armstrong. Chris Armstrong worked for me when he was 19 years old. I called up Chris, and we had made a lot of money together before when we were working together. And I said something along the lines of, Chris, I'm involved in something else, and let's get together. And he said, okay. And we got together, and he signed up, and then we met a few of his friends for lunch, and so on and so forth. Not terribly difficult. So think of who you used to work with that might be a good candidate for the business. The next person on the stage is Martha Diane Hayes, my dear friend, and she was actually over at my house for something else. We were just visiting, and then on the way out to the car, we were saying goodbye. I think we had actually had the first hug, and then we kept talking. It was almost a Seinfeld episode, like it was getting just to the point where you had to hug again. It was like a double goodbye. And then I said, oh, wait a minute, I thought of something, and I almost forgot. And then I went running into the garage, and I grabbed some Vima, and I grabbed a magazine, and I handed it to her, and I said, here, you're going to China. You'll be bored to death on the plane. Read this. And so she actually did something that I've never had happen before. She read the magazine. So it can happen. It's like the first time in history. She read the magazine. Now she just went star presidential. Give her a round of applause. And then we have Kelly McCamey. Now, this is a great story because Kelly McCamey, I sponsored her from advertising. I don't claim to be the world's greatest sponsor. She needed some help, so she got a hold of Michelle. And Michelle and her have become incredibly good friends. And Kelly and Michelle work together cross-line. Kelly's on one side, Michelle's on the other side, but they're best friends. They work together. And something else that doesn't happen very often, as close as they got, Michelle never tried to steal her. Give it up for Michelle. Woo! Unbelievable. It is possible to work together and not, it's like, well, you have a husband, Brad. Come on, sign up underneath her. No, they didn't do that. So, unbelievable. Great people. Then there's Nur Salihin Ismail from Malaysia. Give it up for Nur Salihin from Malaysia. What's great about this business, I couldn't have pointed Malaysia out on a map if my life depended on it when I first got started. I think I was absent that week in high school when they showed the geography, so I didn't know much about Malaysia at all. Now I've had an opportunity to go over there and visit 6 times. Salihin's become a dear friend. Matter of fact, I was invited to his wedding in Malaysia, and it was one of the most incredible things I've ever been to in my life. The whole town was there. He had like 40,000 people at his wedding, and I mean, that's not, how many were there really? There wasn't 40,000, but what was there? Oh, 3,000. I'm in MLM. I'm prone to exaggeration. There were 3,000, felt like 40,000. All right. He just had a brand new baby, great guy. So one of the things, as you just heard, you can build this business internationally. We're all just a click away. If you look at my Facebook, it's almost all Malaysian people now. I'm an honorary Malaysian. All right. The next person that I sponsored was Mike Letcher, the very skinny Mike Letcher, by the way. How much weight have you lost? 22 pounds Mike's lost. So here's how I sponsored Mike. Yes, very good. My son plays tennis. He's taking tennis lessons. Mike is his tennis instructor. And then Mike got into an MLM, and he thought I would be a good prospect. I don't know what gave him that idea. He had no idea what I did for a living. And he invited me to come to lunch, and then he proceeded to pitch me on his MLM. I proceeded to laugh, and then I signed him up in Vima, and now he's an ambassador. All right, keep it up. Next is, I didn't even recognize you, Nancy. Oh my goodness, you are skinny. Look at you. Did I spell your name wrong? It's an S, not a Z. Is it? Okay, yes. Well, anyway, Nancy Sesterzik, the very skinny Nancy Sesterzik, I did not personally enroll. She's an exception to the rule. What I want you to learn from Nancy being up here is this. I sponsored a friend of mine who's a quote-unquote big hitter in MLM. And he came into the business, and then he sponsored another quote-unquote big hitter into the business who sponsored Nancy. Both those quote-unquote big hitters have long since gone into like 4 or 5 or 25 other companies and failed miserably, but they left behind Nancy, and that's just beautiful. My dad used to say, the cream rises to the top, and so does the scum, but he was talking about beer. I'm here all week. All right, Nancy. But anyway, great job, Nancy. How much weight have you lost?
32 pounds.
32 pounds. Wow. And then there's Dave and Dana Peterman, they're here too. Dave and Dana Peterman, I was sitting at home one day, and my wife says, out of the blue, like most of you have not met my wife. She speaks quarterly. It's like at conventions, only she really only speaks quarterly. We're sitting there in silence like monks, and she says to me, you know who you should call? I'm like, who? She's like, Dave and Dana. I'm like, good idea. And I called them, and they're people that I've known for 20-some years, made millions and millions of dollars in the industry, and it just so happened a few months ago when I called them up to get them involved in the business, the timing was right. They were in between opportunities, open to an opportunity. They joined. Now they've lost a collective 70 pounds and went executive or star executive in the first 90 days. Give them a round of applause. And over here, so then in the summertime, when it's hot, what I like to do is I like to go to the lake. And so I was at the lake and invited some friends to the lake on the boat. When I got on my boat, what I always do is I put Verve and beer and water and Diet Dr. Pepper. You get the idea. There's just a variety of beverages because 120 degrees at Lake Havasu. Good friend of mine for a long time, knows what I do. I'm not the type of person that annoys everyone until they come into the business. I don't think you have to do that. The right people will show up at the right time if you believe and you know where you're headed. So Shad comes to Lake Havasu to go out on the boat for the weekend on Labor Day, so that was just a few short months ago, and all weekend he was drinking sugar-free Verve. And at the end of the weekend, he says, you know what, this stuff is really, really good. And I'm like, oh, it is? Yeah, I'm quite aware of that, thank you. And then like a week or two later, he calls me up and he says, you know what, I think I'm going to do this business. And I said, well, that's outstanding. So he moved to Scottsdale, started November 1. He too just made executive, and let's give him a big round of applause. And then last but not least, there's Cliff Braun. Cliff Braun. No, I was going to try to do that. I was going to have him on Skype from South Africa. Cliff is one of my best friends. He was actually one of the first people I sponsored into the business. We've had all kinds of fun together building in the United States. Then he went to Taiwan, and he lived in Taiwan for about a year. And now he's in South Africa, living in Clay's hotel there and running South Africa, having a good old time. And I was going to have him on Skype, but Danny said that was too complicated. But pretend like Cliff's here, and he sends his best wishes from South Africa. So that's what 10 people look like, how you sponsor 10 people, and how you go Royal Ambassador in 18 months. So give it up for this crew, and thanks you guys for coming in. Thanks, Michelle. Okay. Wasn't sure how long that would take. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about belief. One of the things for Shad, who was just up here, you're probably going to hear from him. If I was to go down to the Vima Sportsbook and bet, I mean, he's one of the people I'd bet on to become the first pinnacle in this company. And he's one of the people that uses this theory here. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we must use them accordingly. And if you're new in the business and you're here for the first time and you're looking to find out how exactly do I build this business, one of the best things that you can do is just start listening. When you're out and about, just start listening to what people have to say. It's better to be interested than interesting. Better to be interested than interesting. As you're out, just listen to other people. Let them talk. I don't know if you guys have heard this story, but there was a group of psychologists that did a study. They had someone get on an airplane and sit down next to somebody on a cross-country flight from New York to LA. And their instructions were, don't say anything about yourself. Just talk about the other person that you're sitting next to on the flight. So they did that the entire flight, and the entire conversation was about that other person they were sitting next to. And at the end of the flight, they asked the person that who was sitting next to, they said, what did you think, by the way, of your seatmate that you sat next to? He said, he was the most fascinating person I had ever met. And the reality was they did not know a single thing about that person. When you're out and about, get to know people, get to connect with people. This business is all about making friends, and the best way to make a friend is to be a friend. It's real simple stuff. So open up your ears and you will hear people talking about health challenges. You'll hear people talking about income challenges. Most importantly, what I find is people just want to be heard. People just want to connect with other people. And everybody, if they actually understood our business, would want to be in this business. So just have fun. That's my philosophy completely. If you're having fun, you're doing it right. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. If you read what's on the slide here, it says, people choose whether or not to join you based on if it looks like something they could do and would enjoy doing with you. If you're feeling uncomfortable, if it feels awkward or wrong when you're talking to people, you're doing it wrong. Because you don't want them to think that they have to do something that's not comfortable for you to do. All right, so let's go through this belief in the last section. So basically, if your belief, I joke that this business is all BS. It's all belief systems. All right, so it's all belief systems. The first thing you have to have a belief in is the company. The last month or two, all I've been doing is getting my group to come to this event. If we were a football team, this is our Super Bowl. So you guys are at the Super Bowl right now. I'm not a big sports fan. I like to say if I'm not on the team or I don't own the team, I don't care. I don't sit around and watch football or watch basketball unless I'm at the Verve Lounge. This is my team. This is our Super Bowl. The most important thing you can do is get people here. How many of you wish you had about 10 more people from your team here right now? Yeah, of course. Next year, get as many people here as humanly possible, because this is where people's belief is taken to the next level. If you come to a room with 3,000 or 4,000 people in it, all with a common vision and excited, you can't possibly say, oh, it's not going to work. When you hear these stories and you feel these stories and the sincere emotion that you see on the stage, you know it works and it elevates your belief. This company is in the sweet spot. Vima's doing around $100 million a year. Herbalife, for example, doing $6 billion a year. So that's where we have $100 million to $6 billion. All the growth is ahead of us. But you don't want to do like I did for 15 straight years, is try to get ahead of the curve and get with a startup MLM company and get in the beginning on the ground floor. You just end up with dust on your shoes. You want to get with a solid company that's been around for a while and then ride it through the momentum phase. How many of you feel like we're going into momentum right now? Just by show of hands. All right. I feel like I'm ignoring this side of the... How you guys doing over here? Woo! How you guys doing over here? How you guys doing right here? I kind of always wanted to do that. Sorry. All right. We went to O the other night, the show. The company took us to O. They took us to an amazing dinner. It's just so fun to be sitting in these black chairs and get the red carpet treatment or the orange carpet treatment. All right, so the next thing you need to develop a belief in is the product. While I may not be the skinniest person in the room yet, I've got an incredibly strong immune system. I haven't been sick in 6 years, with the exception of a couple days ago. I had food poisoning, but I don't think that's sickness. That was a thing. It's not like flu or a common cold, so I'm going to have to stick with that story. Typically, my immune system's incredibly strong from Vima. Kenneth Coe and I were talking. He's like, so, did you lose weight? I said, I lost 20, gained about 5 it back. I'm down about 15. He goes, so are you doing all the diet and exercise thing? I'm like, nah, not so much. I just drink a burn right when I wake up and a rest before I go to sleep. He goes, well, that's very good. You lose 15 pounds and you didn't even worry about the diet or exercise. I go, yeah, that is very good. And that elevated my belief even further. Thank you, Kenneth. It's like, our products are awesome. I think Dr. Y might quite possibly be the most brilliant guy in the world. Yes, give him a round of applause. I just have so much respect for Dr. Y. He's created amazing products, and they just keep getting better. And like Dr. Oz said a few years at one of our conventions, he says, the best product is the one that you take. And that's true. The best product is the one that you take. And people take our products because they taste good and they're easy to use. They're easy to consume. They're the most consumable products that I've ever seen. So develop your belief in the product. Use it every day. And then develop your belief in the industry. Some people, see people out there that say, oh, I don't like MLM, or it's a pyramid, or some such thing like that. You want to get any of that. If you have any of that in you, just get rid of it. I would never be involved in something that wasn't MLM. Why on earth would you want to exchange time for dollars when you can develop massive residual income by leveraging the efforts of thousands and thousands of other people? MLM is the single greatest business on the planet. How many of you agree with that statement? A show of hands. If you don't believe it, you just don't understand it, just work on that, because this is a great industry. The comp plan. I think our comp plan is phenomenal. I love the binary comp plan. It rewards the right behavior, encourages people to work together by placing people, and building teams. And then most importantly, believe in yourself. That is the key to success. If you believe you can do it, you can do it. And that's all there is to it. Think about this. I was at Washington Mutual Bank before it got bought by Chase, taking a cash advance on my Visa to pay my mortgage in June of 2006. All right, and then 12 months later, I made over $55,000 in a single month. That's what's possible in this business, and if you want it, I encourage you to go after it. That's my 20 minutes. Thank you very much.